Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one ring, let we rule them all. Hope people remember your house. Get your Uru feathers and your Middle guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword +1. Use Valerian steel if it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.
Your 15 megafonzie sized podcast.
15
As-
megafonzies.
Megafonzies. Oh, backdrop. Don't look at the
Oh,
porn
no.
in the background.
Earthquake.
The backdrop is about to do everything but the back. And
It's a Brent.
hey, Brent,
Hey, so what did I miss last week while I was not feeling good?
we wandered off task because we were unsupervised,
Well,
like you might expect,
yep.
because we were unsupervised. I mean,
That's right. The boss isn't in. Let's play.
right? Boss is not here. Woo! We both got naked. We were jumping around the tables. It was just horrible. Alex is like, wait, what? It's like, how did this happen?
So
Hey,
I guess
Ralph.
How would the ratings go with that? Because obviously, one of us is less desirable to be naked, and the other one is. Would that balance it out?
Right? Does it
Would
balance
some people
out?
just like
We-
cover up half the
People
screen?
are like, oh God, we just went half of the screen. Jesus. Sorry, Alex. It's me we're talking about. I'm awesome, and I know it.
Mhm.
Pfft.
How's Earth Dawn? How's Earth Dawn going?
Oh, one of the person who's like a friend of mine, mostly a friend of mine, he is he was being a jerk.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Like in-game jerk.
No, we actually
out
didn't
of
get to
game.
play because we had one of my players had to finish. June had to finish up her character, and then Anna and I couldn't get together during the week because of scheduling, and so we were working on her character as well. And then my friend who I've recently reconnected with, we were really close in high school. But yeah, he was just being a judgmental asshole.
Huh. Man, that's rough. I've had a few friends that were like high school friends that reconnecting on Facebook, and like, oh, they really went like a different direction than I did.
Yeah, I've hung out with him plenty of times, and one of his daughters and my daughter get along really well, and it just was
Not working.
well, no, like I said, he's just being a judgmental asshole,
Yeah.
and so just
Yeah, I was
not
hearing about that
using
part.
Lumen's pronouns and
Oh,
But like
and,
somewhat intentionally, I hear.
well, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, no, I
Intentional or
accidentally
not.
screw up their pronouns, so that's a different
But-
story.
I mean, I'm not in the category of that struggle which people with pronouns have to go through.
Yeah.
So when I mess it up accidentally, I feel bad,
Right.
and to imagine doing it on purpose just makes me mad.
Yeah, so I don't know if he was doing it on purpose per se, but it was just like, it's like he just kept on doing it. He was dogging out other people's choices on certain things. He was he was following Lumen around a lot, which was weird. And it's like I think he was definitely inebriated.
Oh, that never helps with choice making.
Nope. So
Well, sorry to hear that, because I know
Yeah.
you're excited to get that back up and running.
yeah, and so we'll see.
How that plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
Well, rats. Yeah, I was hoping to hear it went awesome.
Yeah, I know.
no, we didn't get to play.
I was thinking more along the lines of I was hoping to hear it went horrible because it's Earth Dawn, so horror.
Well, right.
Yeah.
A certain amount of that's expectation.
In-game horror for the characters, not the players.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so he's like, he's going through a hard time. I know that, but it doesn't really excuse being a rude a-hole.
Mhm.
When I brought it up to him and texting, he's getting down on himself. Which, what is my goal?
Right.
My goal is I mean, Anna at least is willing to give him another chance at her house, which I was like, we can play at the gaming hall. You know, because houses should be safe for the people who live in them.
Safe zone.
But Anna's willing to give him another chance. So there's that.
Is Lumen. Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, like that's.
I assume that Anna and Lumen have talked this over.
Right. I wouldn't. I mean, I love Anna to the end of the earth, but I think we might want to check in with Lumen too.
Yeah, well, couldn't hurt. But yeah, so there's that, and
I'll be with him tomorrow if you want me to foster that.
All right, I just send a text to both of them.
That's fair.
And then, but yeah, it's like, you know, so Anna's willing to give him another chance and such. But I have to remind myself, like, what is my goal? Not only do I want people around the table, but I also want, you know, I know he's going through a hard time, and I also want people to have the opportunity to better themselves.
Right.
And that could also mean you done fucked up, you're not welcome. But his text back to me, he's like, oh, I don't even know what I did. What was so bad? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not in the mindset to actually tell you in a constructive way. So I think I'll address this again tomorrow. Because I mean, my generalness, I mean, I get along with people for the most part, and sometimes I don't. And also for the most part, I kind of don't give a shit about other people. And so part of it's like, on the one hand, it's not our job to educate everybody on all the issues. But on the other hand, if you want people to improve, you really should have that and come to it in that mindset. Because, I mean, especially when someone's being a rude asshole, what I generally like to do is be a ruder asshole. Because it's fun. Because it gets my dopamine firing.
Well, yeah, it's obviously when there's
cut me, I shall cut it back.
When there's actual knowledge of the person and knowing who they are, there's an investment in wanting to help them get better. I had that same problem that guy still has, which is addressing people that I have no idea who they are. They're just some name on the internet and feeling this, oh, clearly they're not seeing the situation because they're missing some key information. And if I give them that key information, they won't be an asshole. Wrong. You can't help them. And you wasted a whole half hour typing, trying to explain something that they didn't want to hear anyway. But I have fun reading guys' half-hour typed-up explanations of things, knowing that, unfortunately, his goals are not going to be met.
No, but there comes a point, and I've been thinking a lot and doing soul-searching on this, because clearly I'm incapable as a human being of stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you get dopamine.
Yeah. I've been really doing a lot of soul-searching on this, and really what I think is happening is there is a really lousy collision course occurring that's coming up on us society-wise. And all that really I'm doing now is clearing my conscience. I did my best. I tried. You know what I mean? When it hits and when everything goes down, I'm going to say, look, you can't blame me. I was there. I was trying desperately in the fight the entire time.
He'll still blame you because that's the way those people are.
That's all right. It's not about them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I found that I've by eliminating, I have the role. Do I know the person? It's my first thing I ask before I type anything. Do I know who this is? And if the answer is no, then the next question becomes, is this information I'm giving going to, in my mind, guaranteed be useful to someone who reads it? Not necessarily the person I'm addressing, with the person I'm answering.
Performative debate.
Performative, because usually it comes down the strangers I'm addressing is usually, hey, I'm playing a black and white mill deck for Magic. What cards would you recommend? Boom! I'm going to throw some cards out there. Might not be useful, might not. Zero politics involved, zero anything, no drama. Just here's some information you're asking for. I will engage those kind of people that I have no idea who they are because we have a clear understanding of what's going on.
Sure.
But when it comes into the stuff like what guys falling into is like electric cars are horrible. It's like, no, you don't. First, you don't know who they are. Second, whatever you say, people who already know electric cars aren't horrible already know it. You're not going to help them.
Well, there are two.
But I know it's passionate topic for you.
Well, that's actually, I was going to use that as a great example of what's going on here. For one, there will come a time where they will get a neighbor, or they will have somebody in their family will finally get an electric car. And they will find out that I was right. And even if they will never, ever, ever, ever admit it, somewhere, I know they'll know. And that's worth it in my book. You know what I mean?
Very optimistic.
Because in this instance, it's not a political thing. You can't tell me whether Biden is better than Trump or Trump is better than Biden. That's really complicated and difficult. And there's a lot of maneuvering levers, and there's a lot of things, and you have to get into the economy, and you know, so it's enough that you can snow yourself. You know what I mean? Like they can hide in their little bunker as to who's better politically for the rest of their lives. I know I've watched everybody do that through my entire family. You know,
hello, the economy,
right? So, I mean, I know that, but when it comes to electric cars, everything that they're saying is complete BS, like obvious BS for people who
electric cars don't even run on electricity,
right?
They run on the souls.
Gas.
They run on the souls of babies.
But it's like, it's like it's obvious, and all you need to do is know somebody who has an EV, and you'll find out that all of that's BS, which means that I've got a pretty good, I mean, you'd have to work really, it would have to get to be moon landing denial level to deny when you're. I think
it'll be one of those. It's like, oh, you're the exception. My neighbor's the exception.
Yeah.
They lucked out. They didn't get the crappy car.
They didn't get the crappy one. All of them are crappy. Yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you look on the road now.
I've known enough racists in my family to know but I have a friend who is not white, so therefore I am not racist. It's like, no, you don't get it. So you're going to get I have a neighbor who owns an EV car, and their car is the exception. All the other EV cars are the ones that are bad.
Right, but I mean,
I won't be back to Thanksgiving.
That's what I'm saying is like, it's only a matter of time at some point, because actually,
they'll all die off.
Alex
had told me a story. I forget the writer's name, but there's some writer who had said something about thinking as a negative term. And we're at night, so I can say this. We're after hours. That he thought in his mind as a pejorative to somebody was cocksucker, and then he quickly realized that's not the right thing to think. Well, when I die, that'll be one less person who falls in that category. I'm remembering this right?
You are paraphrasing the story quite well. That man is in fact my favorite author.
Oh, Daniel Key Monroe.
Yes.
Daniel Keyes Monroe. I'm getting it
Moran.
I had the right letters.
Well, it doesn't really matter. The books that I have been reading by Rutger Bregman are changing my view on the world quite dramatically all the way around. And so it's becoming a lot easier to just fire off the information. If they don't want to listen, that's fine. You know what I mean? Because it's weird. Now I take the position of these are good but misguided people, and you may or may not be able to undo their misguidedness, but that's on them, not you. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And so you can try, make the attempt. If it doesn't work, you know, you did your best. And it's I was at that point. It's a lot more dopamine and a lot less stress, which is really, I think, really what I'm headed for in the battle plan here.
At
You
some
know what I
point for
mean?
me, there was sunken cost involved, and I decided I need a new rule to
Yeah.
limit my time that I'm wasting on situations
I
that
ended
I'm
up
not getting
wasting
anything out of it.
time that I didn't have, and that was
Mhm.
making me mad. Like I would get into one of these arguments just as I was about to go for a walk with Alex or something like that, and end
Right.
up burning time that I really didn't have. Like that's a there, you know, there's a very tight
Mhm.
timeline there, and no, and that was what was making me really frustrated. And because it was like I don't have the time to burn here, but now
I'm trying to cut back on Facebook.
now it's
Yeah,
back. Now it's like if I've got the time and I can help you out, I'll give you a little bit of a boost.
Mhm.
But it is a different view of the world when you see something and you go and you start from the presumption that they're just stuck somewhere and stop thinking they're evil or bad or stupid or a negative pejorative. Um, yeah, exactly. I'm giving them an opportunity to learn or change, and I'm not holding myself accountable for that. But I'm also not making the assumption that they're idiots or dumb or, you know, any negative pejorative. I'm actually kind of operating on the everybody has an explanation. I mean, I've even been watching this. Dilbert's author, Scott Adams,
Adams.
set fire to himself,
Mhm.
and
you know, for years.
and it's so funny because I've been talking all day with my buddy, and he's like, I just don't understand how he would set fire to his career. And I'm like, oh, I don't think you know what all the mechanics that are going on here.
He's already rich though, right?
Oh, probably.
Oh, okay. Rotten Ralph realized that I looked very confused because I did not see
Yeah,
the
I'm
comment.
reading Rotten Ralph's um,
Mhm.
statement because unlike my show, StreamYard doesn't put it up on the screen here, which is
just
kind of a
did
bummer.
for some reason. It's like really slow.
Yeah. And to tangent for a moment, Guy, your video keeps freezing up. Your audio has been pretty solid, but your video keeps on like stuttering a little bit. So be aware.
I think you can tell whether I'm stalled or not by the lights in the background, but yeah.
I can usually tell because your face stops moving, but I keep on hearing your voice.
He's practicing ventriloquism.
I'm practicing my ventriloquism.
Yes.
I want to have a dummy soon.
Well, you are the dummy. We need
I am
someone
the
to
dummy.
put their
That's
hand
how it
up your
works.
ass. So.
But one of the things that was disgusting was like, you know, how do you think about, and I've been thinking a lot about how this specifically Scott Adams, who's always been sort of right leaning anyway, and even his comics are somewhat right leaning. He just totally set fire to himself. And my friend's like, I don't even understand how he did it. And I said, he became a martyr. I mean, it's clear. It's obvious to me he just martyred himself so that he will enrage the political right and they will have even more fodder against the political left. That's the battle plan. That's the entire
Didn't you mean that the other way around? He's enraging the left, right?
No.
Left, right, left. I thought the stuff he was saying is stuff that the left would take offense to.
So he says things that are politically incorrect to the left. The left cancels him, which therefore
and then the
makes
right gets
right.
mad
It feeds the right's belief that the left cancels anything that's not on their agenda, and that feeds that. And he just martyred himself so that they can now be mad about the fact that the left has even canceled Dilbert, because Dilbert was only talking about, you know, office politics, but that's obviously too sensitive for the woke left. Now he's enraged the right. The right is now going to be mad. And it's mostly because there is a misunderstanding about affirmative action. And that's where this is all coming from. I've talked to my dad and I've talked to our various conservative friends and actually listened to them, and understanding a little bit more of what's going on underneath that makes a lot more sense now. They incorrectly believe that Dr. King corrected all of our problems with racism. They feel like it's done. We did it. It was fixed. Everything's fine now. Dr. King did all this really good work. That's one of the reasons why you get these weird things like, well, if they're racists, how do they respect Dr. King? they're not actually racist in the Jim Crow way. They're racist because they believe that affirmative action was put into place when it didn't need to be, because they misunderstand all of the statistics. So affirmative action goes into place, and what it looks like to them is you've now said that white males can no longer have any advantage in the workspace, since they believe that everybody by default will take advantage of anything that they can possibly, because they have this negative bias. They believe that everybody will possibly take every last bit of advantage they can. So they now believe that they've been pulled back on the race, in the rat race.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime our economy goes down and everybody is out of a job, they instantly blame affirmative action rather than blaming, say, the economy or operations in however our machines work, because all of this is just too many moving pieces. I've actually talked a lot about this, and I finally figured it out. They believe the racism occurred with affirmative action. So all of the stuff that Scott Adams is saying is he's being sarcastic to point out what he feels is the racism in affirmative action. That's what's happening.
Self-employed millionaire. Fuck
right,
you.
Exactly. Well,
and pull the other one, Scott Adams. Come on.
And that's the thing.
Pull the one in the middle.
So Rotten Ralph, there's a book out there that I've been reading called Humankind, which says that we actually aren't by default that kind of people. But for some bizarre reason, we believe we are. And he actually says it probably has something to do with the nature of human beings, where if you assume that the rattlesnake is evil, it will bite you and fill you full of venom. It's better than to assume it's a cute pet. Obviously, it's better to have a negative bias against things that you first meet. Unfortunately, it plays badly against us. And that is, you see one bad event and you apply it to all things in that sector. So in 1977 or something, whatever, one black guy misused his abilities to get ahead in a college, whatever, and it was reported. And at that point in time, then it was just assumed that everybody was doing it. And so that's where this all boiled down. Well, and I mean, I see what you're saying, Alex, but I mean, the truth of the matter is understanding what's going on will help us fix it. Not understanding it and just getting mad about it and kicking people will get us into a fight.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm after.
They're complaining about how, oh my gosh, my generation upon generational lead in wealth and education and nutrition. Oh, some of it's being compensated for people who don't look like me.
Well, so their argument has been and continues to be, A, that's not them that did it. B, that was fixed by Dr. King. Mm-hmm. Those are the two fallacies that they are operating on. And we're not.
I didn't do it. I'm just the beneficiary of generations of slavery.
But that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is they believe that effective Dr. King, we stopped giving white people advantages. That's a critical failure that they need to correct.
And they assume all of the blind testing that was done afterwards.
They don't listen to it. Because that's part of the problem is they naturally assume that all of that was woke leftist agenda and it's all been stilted. And that's part of this horrible misinformation that's been going around, that they believe that all of those studies are stilted. And that's a problem.
Narratively, people love a good story.
Yeah.
And people love a story with heroes and villains, and they don't want to be the villain.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. And I think that's part of it. There are two types of people that go into this sort of
there's a lot of blinders put on too, because I'm not going to call anybody out by name, but a family member who didn't believe me when I was saying, well, part of the first biological warfare was giving blankets of smallpox to the Native Americans. Like, we didn't do that. Like,
yeah, we did.
What do you mean we didn't do that? There's been enough establishment that it's There's enough there that's yes, that happened.
Yeah.
But no, because we're good guys. I think it's where their
Right.
mind was, but it's just flat out denial and blinders to it.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why you'll find more conservatism in the in engagement forces, like the military and the police and things like that, because they're dealing with people who are having the worst days. You know what I mean? Either they're engaged in a war for whatever reason, or they're engaged in something that's just a rough time in their life. But because of that, that feeds that negativity bias. The negativity bias then feeds to all of the other negativity biases out there, including believing things like that studies and things like that are, it's easy to feed that negativity bias. It's a very easy bias to feed. And
Grifters
so,
love it.
yeah, but I mean, looking
Alex
at some
Jones.
looking at some of the things, though, I don't think any of this stuff is intentional. I think it just is the nature of a negativity bias. By default, you're going to start falling into traps of believing that majority. It's called the hasty generalization fallacy.
I absolutely believe that most people are just sort of like, they're just stereotyping for shorthand. We all do it.
Yeah.
But when I call out people like Alex Jones, where it was proven in a court of law, oh, he knew he was lying about all this crap and making just money off of it. It's like, yeah.
The media has its own real problem, which is that it lives by if it bleeds, it leads. And they have forever made things bleed that didn't really need to bleed because it makes them money. And so they are notorious for it. And yellow journalism has been around since time immemorial. And that's just a function of if you don't make money, you die. And therefore you are forced to do amoral things at some point in time in order to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, that happens.
Yeah. And plus, it's going back to our evolution. We are genetically programmed to look out for bad things and to think that things are bad because the people who didn't got eaten by jaguars,
right?
It's like rattlesnakes.
Better to think a snake is poisonous than to think it's cute.
Right?
It's safer for us in that position. Thanks, Reagan.
Always assume.
Oh man. So this guy is Dutch, the guy that I'm reading, and in fact, these books are translated from Dutch. Yeah, they're translated from Dutch. So he's not been particularly left or right biased politically in American politics, right? He's just observed things and sort of seen how and he's applied the theorems that he's talking about to those things, but it's never been an obvious left or right bias up until he talked about economy. And then he talked about how in 1984, our entire world structure shifted from being very academic focused to being very, very money focused. And that was because of Reagan's tax cuts, which had this effect all over the world. It was so weird. And I was like, wow, that's the first politically charged thing you've said in this entire set. I'm on book 2, and that's the first thing that literally nailed one of our political parties. But yeah, apparently the tax cuts that Reagan put into effect just wiped out academia and made it so that we have 47 billion CPAs. And that's just the way that's what happened. All of our teachers went away, and now we've got 1 million CPAs who make their entire living moving $1 from here to here, and then back to here, and then back to here, and then back to here, and that's all they do in their life. And
Speaking of Dutch makes me think of Van Gogh Dutch chocolate vodka, which thinking of Van Gogh Dutch chocolate vodka makes me think that, well, they're not one of our sponsors, but we do have sponsors.
We do have sponsors.
Yeah, I don't think any of them sell vodka. Well, your mom might sell vodka, but
you never know.
Never know.
Our sponsors are Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and your mom.
Your mom.
All right, guys. Kieran Games was at Gen Con last week, And
So was Kevin.
So is Kevin. Kevin
Not-
Games was also with Kieran Games, and apparently Kieran Games got stuck in a hallway. That was weird.
Artist Alley, because there was
Artist
some
Alley.
mix up with the paperwork.
Yep.
From what I read on the post.
Yep. And we also should put this on there too, just to keep you guys in line, so you guys are aware we're at night now. All right.
Awkwardly, we're all presenters. Was my transition awkward because it felt awkward, or was there something else that they're referring to?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not awkward.
I'm awkwardly asking the question now about the awkward question.
Right. Wait. Am I
which
awkward?
feels awkward.
This reminds me of
Okay.
the great sage Bill Hicks talking about the economy and how like the drugs that are legal, the coffee, the alcohol, the cigarettes, are drugs that stimulate your body but do absolutely nothing for you, like emotionally, spiritually, and that he's like, you know what I did last weekend? I took shrooms and went on a hike, and I lay down in a field for a couple of hours and thought to myself, God, I love everything. Now, if there's not something that's a danger to this society and culture we've built, it's what is it but that? When we start realizing we're all one, it's going to ruin the economy. The economy that's fake and made up anyway.
I still think Douglas Adams has the best quote, which is people were so obsessed with the movement of little pieces of paper. Little pieces of paper were happy, but the people sure weren't.
Right?
And I love that quote. I
one.
think Bob saying
Raising
that
Glass
Genghis
with Douglas
Khan went
Adams.
relatively well over the weekend. I agree. And I have my as well. So I think so too. I think Genghis Khan went relatively well over the weekend. So that's good. I also picked up KSP2, which is the newest Kerbal Space program. And speaking of interesting little things, was just going to run my second run to the moon, and realized that of the 15 Kerbals that are in there, there is one female.
Do you get to, as the game player, get to set the genders?
Nope.
Or is that all preset?
It's preset.
Huh.
And I actually at first was like,
Is it
well,
biased?
you know, it's probably just because. And then I was like, no, each one of the 15 Kerbals, because this is a pre-release, so it probably has, you know, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe they just didn't get around to it. Nope. Each and every one of those 15 male or 14 male Kerbals has different hair, different personalities. They act differently. They've got different, you know, all kinds of different things. And then there's Val, and she acts bored all the time. Like she's annoyed to be in the space program. And she's
just annoyed to be surrounded by all the men.
And I'm like sitting there going, man, I mean, like, talk about
it's a deeper statement on how white male driven the STEM vocations are.
And it was really irritating to me because I was like, I would understand it if all the Kerbals were the same because it's a pre-release. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's an early release.
It's the Smurfette syndrome.
Right? I mean, like if they were all Jeb, I'd be like, okay, you know, you didn't have time to get to the Kerbals. That's cool. But that's what I did. I posted in there and I said, can we talk about the Smurfette syndrome going on here? Like I literally posted that into their discussion topics. I'm like, and I know this is a petty thing to complain when our physics engine's still screwed up, but
it's something that should have been easy to fix, though.
Well, and they're Kerbals. Like the difference between a male and a female Kerbal is that the female Kerbals have eyelashes. Literally, that's it. It's not like they have to go through and redesign the spacesuits or anything. Not only that, they already have Val. So it's not even like they don't have a female.
Right. This was from me of the Venture Brothers. Talking about how like the Smurfs are obviously lay eggs because it's one female and so many males. But let's see here. What else do we have here? We have why don't those affected beat themselves up? I'm not sure where you're coming from with that. But you generally kill drunkards and addicts? Lots of people don't really care about them and think they're not worthy of respect or resources. And it comes to habitual drunkards and such, that really does remind me of when I took my citizenship test, and then like I'm on the questionnaire was like, "Are you a habitual drunkard?" And I'm like, "Are you gonna kick out all the habitual drunkards?" No, you're not. So shut up. You stupid test. Take your stupid test and jam it up your ass.
Somewhere along the line, we really got it in our heads that drinking and alcohol is a weakness and drug use is a weakness, and not, as it really is, compensation for problems in life.
It's also genetic for some.
Some it's genetic, but others it's just, I mean, most of the people who are drunks or are drug users are that way because they're having problems in other parts of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, it's the same as like with suicide.
Mental therapy would help them a whole lot.
People want to just lump those people into, well, they made a bad choice and it's on them. Not that any other outside factors outside of their control had an effect, which is a problem, obviously, because those who think deeper about the situation realize, oh, these are people who are in a bad situation and they would want to be out of the situation if they could.
That's sort of my new look on life, is stop blaming the symptoms and start looking for the actual cause. And you know what I mean? Like, if we start as a society, start addressing causes instead of symptoms, we probably would be in a much better place all the way around. So this is my new attitude on life. You know, hey, Troy made me mad. I'm going to stop being mad at Troy and instead ask Troy why he said the thing. You know, it seems obvious in one-on-ones. It seems obvious in the culture too.
Just scale it up. If you can defeat one man, you can defeat 10. If you can defeat 10, you can defeat 100. Thank you, Musashi.
Dang it, I got to go get my sword.
And then, yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like, let's stop being mad and let's just talk to our friend. Let's stop trying to mind read what's going on and just ask them.
We also have to stop.
Are we hypocrites? Yeah, probably.
We also have to stop doing
Next.
thing.
Come on, Russian Botovich, bring it on.
We also have to be. We have to stop doing the understanding equals agreeing. You know, if I say I understand why Hitler did a thing, immediately everybody's like, "Oh, you condone killing Jews?" And I'm like, whoa.
No, I was saying, how about you like dogs? Who doesn't like dogs? You like dags?
Right? I'm like, no, but there once was a time when Hitler was like a painter and something hit him. Somewhere he went wrong. And if we try to figure out that part, and actually a lot of historians believe that, you know, a lot of this was fear-mongering on Hitler. You know, he got into the fear-mongering section of German politics and drummed up to where it was. Which means that the source is fear-mongering, not Hitler. And yet, here we are going, well, Hitler's not legal, but fear-mongering is.
Everyone loves to, the most, oftentimes what we're taught in history is like something, a lot of great man theory, great person theory. It's like, here's our person. They can personify total terribleness like Stalin or Hitler, or total awesomeness like Lincoln,
right?
And just go off that, as opposed to all the little people who are always pushing for things and doing things, whether they are for good or ill. Yeah, that's, again, it makes it easier to tell a story.
It does, and telling stories is wonderful. I'm a big proponent of stories, but I think that there comes a time where somebody needs to say, "Hey, don't pay so much attention to this.
The story's kind of shitty. Let's change the story."
All right, let's change the story. I don't like this one. So, maybe, but even then, that's understandable. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, later on, he had sexually transmitted disease, which is known to eat at brain cells. So, I mean, like, all of those things are like, okay, so maybe we should instead pay attention to these things, you know, like what causes people's brains to go bad, and then intercept that instead of just going, well, we'll wait until they start gassing people. Like, whoa. How'd you get there?
Seems we're missing a few steps.
Right? Whoa. You know, the thing is that he was very good at convincing people. He had a high charisma score, and he could convince people to be afraid. And he convinced a lot of people to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And enough people are afraid, they will, which is one of the reasons why I'm worried. I'm seeing a lot of people getting afraid right now. And there's a lot of people who are very charismatic, who are drumming up fear. It never ends well. Fear doesn't end well. And it's never
scared.
Well.
Makes it difficult for people who are scared are often not using their higher functions.
It makes them easier to control. But on the same token, I mean, it's good to have fear. Fear is a good thing to have. I mean, like, don't play with a snake. We just said that. It's probably poisonous. You know, jaguars, there are jaguars. But fear over a long, prolonged period of time isn't good for us. And it's not good for us as a people. And I'm starting to get kind of worried, you know?
Are you getting afraid?
Yes. Syphilis. That was what I was thinking of. Thank you. Syphilis.
The famous Greek philosopher, right?
Yeah, Syphilis. Syphilis is what I was saying, yeah. Exactly. It's impossible to use higher brain functions when afraid. Thank you, Ralph. So, I mean, it's like, but I've been really thinking about this a lot these days, and this book has been very eye-opening because all he's doing is just presenting stuff with facts and figures. I mean, like, he's showing the studies that show that we are good people, and he's showing the studies that show that our economy is doing well. And, you know, his whole thing is that the word economy was invented because somebody needed something to show what were we doing. And so they made up economy, but the problem with economy is it just shows the movement of money. And as long as that's the most important thing, then it doesn't matter whether 6 people are moving all of the money around and everybody else is in abject poverty. The economy is still good, you know? And so the problem with it is that it's super biased towards not the welfare of people. It's biased towards just the movement of money. And that means that you can have, which we have now, ultra rich. And as long as the ultra rich are flowing money around in some way or another, our economy is good and we are fine. It doesn't matter whether that means that 99% of us are not doing so well. It doesn't actually have a cost of living benefit. And he's talking about Holland has the same problem. And it's because everybody is mimicking the United States around the world, and they're doing the same thing where they're just monitoring the money. As long as the rich people keep the money moving, it doesn't matter. And so you can't tell that things are going bad. And things are going bad, you know. And so
I did a little research just because I'm curious, because we like to interact with our audience comments. And yeah, it's hard to tell. Is this like a higher level AI bot, or is it just somebody who has a lot of free time? But yeah. Okay. That definitely seems like an AI type comment there.
Yeah.
Oh, are we talking about our
AI person
feed?
here? Yeah. Or it's not you.
No, not
Ralph.
you.
You're actually your sentences make sense,
like,
Ralph.
We're
if
talking
you're an
about
AI, you're a higher level AI.
Yeah,
we're past the ELIZA test.
For you guys, by the way, guys that are in here, we have some of you coming in on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
some of you are coming in on Twitch,
True.
Some of you are coming in on YouTube. So
we're referring specifically to a Facebook commenter,
and which is obviously Bob. That's only said because Bob is actually a buddy of ours, and we all actually physically know him in real life. So
IRL.
Yeah, IRL.
Yeah.
So we're worrying about.
Are you going to ban him?
That's who we think is an AI.
Report him.
We think you're an AI,
Yeah.
Bob.
It's like,
yay.
Your translation program ain't
Well,
working
Brent,
so great.
And so for those of you, because there's only one of you coming in right now on YouTube and only one of you coming in on Twitch. So what you're not seeing is what's going on with all the other commentators, because StreamYard doesn't allow us to put it up on the screen like some of the other restreamers do.
We have to do it one thing at a time. if we wanted to.
Brent, this is not calling you out, bro. So, hey, Donald. And Donald, I know in IRL too. So Donald's not an AI.
Right.
Yeah.
That you know of.
Now
Well,
I just get them throwing out so many
Donald's
weird
the
comments
bestest
to
kind
our
of
bot
AI,
that it's
because he's got like an
started to
entire
bork.
holographic field. Oh, that explains why you're so good at poker.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Brent's like, fine.
We did an episode a while back where we whatever that AI chat program is, we opened it up and we were just asking it questions on the show, and it was fun.
Comedy. This is comedy.
Speaking of bots, an interesting situation happened with Tara's work that hadn't happened before, where they had an automated message in her department send out to an automated message from another company came in. Their system picked it up, and their AI sent out their pre-written automated response, which triggered their pre-automated response, and it just kept pinging back and forth with these yes, we received your email, we'll be right on it. Yes, we received your email, we'll be right on it. And so Tara's phone was just blowing up with all these messages of them bouncing back and forth. So she had to get in there with the IT team and take care of it.
We did that once with a Google Dot and Alexa, and we stuck them next to each other and they talk back and forth to each other. It was very funny. And you could get them to go for like a good 5 minutes before they finally stopped saying things to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very funny.
My kids have 2 of the same Pokemon trivia question things where it asks you questions and it'll guess what Pokemon it is, and they activated them both, and they kept like talking back and forth, confusing each other. So it's pretty fun.
That's really funny, actually. I think we'll get weirder and weirder things as time goes on, as we get smarter and smarter machines. That's another thing he's been talking about, is the machines taking over the world, sort of thing.
Who?
Bregman in these books.
Oh, in the book.
The first book is called Humankind. The second book is called Utopia for Realists. And so it's effectively, how do we get to a utopia? Because his whole argument is we're about 85% there. If you look at the world in general, we are doing better. Even our poorest person today, the poorest person on this planet, is still better than the average person in the 1500s, as far as quality of life and everything like that. We are doing so much better now. And the richest person and the average person today is better than even the richest person in the 1500s.
Indoor toilets, motherfucker.
So like the three of us who are just average people are doing far better today. There we go. And now we're in Russian.
Beep boop, beep boop, beep boop. Meat
I don't
sack,
know what
beep boop.
Luckily, I can hit a translation button over here.
Why bother? Just ban it.
Well, I'm not 100% sure.
No, it's just hilarious though.
I'm sure enough.
The translation. Clearly me and your women who are afraid to minor the 4 dog of a sitter. All right, how do I ban this person?
I'm like, come on.
There's got to be a way.
Now in Bulgarian. We can't do it from
hide
here.
Comment. That didn't work.
Toilet paper and vaccines. I don't know what that is, but okay.
Oh, I see. I'm in here as me. I need to be in here.
You know, we're better
Stevia.
off now than then.
I need to be in here as Geek
Chamber pot, no thank you. Water closet. Yes.
There we go. Let's see if this
I
works.
can have balsamic vinegar any time of year, anywhere in the world. That's amazing.
So yeah, that was the other thing he was talking about, was like where things are sourced from. Like, what was it that he was talking about? It was chocolate ice cream. And he was talking about where, in the book, he was showing where everything is coming from. The sugar is from like Brazil, and the cocoa comes from, you know what I mean? Like all these different places, and all of it is sourced to make one thing of chocolate ice cream. And he's like, it's amazing if you think about just how things operate in the world.
Interconnected web.
yeah, I mean, like, he's like, that's
globalist ice cream.
It's unprecedented in the global history of this planet. The fact that within a week or so, you can get all the parts for chocolate ice cream from literally everywhere in the world to make your chocolate ice cream for like $5. And like, that is an insane amount of awesomeness. That's just a really incredible thing. He's like, crime is down this decade for the first. It's safer today than it has ever been on this planet.
Yep.
Right now,
That-
there are
that's been
fewer
the
people who
decades.
are under dictatorships. There are more people who live in a democracy, even if it is kind of a broken democracy. It's still better than a dictatorship. You know what I mean? Like, there are many more free people today than there have ever been. And that's an amazing accomplishment. And he says, so we're not actually as far as people think. People keep thinking we've got miles to go, and we really don't. We're really, really close to an actual functioning utopia. And the biggest thing that stops us is our belief that nobody will ever work in a utopia.
But I mean,
The biggest thing.
if it's utopia, why would we have to work for jobs that we don't want or care about?
Well, that's what he's
We should
saying.
only have to work for the things we care about and love.
He's saying, ironically, the robotic revolution is going to bring that about. You're going to have to deal with the fact that nobody has a job. You're going to have to figure that out. And he said, everybody freaks out about that, but what that really means is we'll have more time for thinking, which is what's happened with the humans over history. Fire was invented because we didn't have to hunt as hard anymore.
Yeah.
And the Ice Age
pre-digest our food.
Right.
We don't have to have
things like
such
that. I mean,
massive
Lupino,
mandibles and
all of
teeth.
the big evolutionary changes, the big changes in our history have occurred because the jobs and tasks that we had to do were minimized and more people were freed up to think.
Yep, you aren't wrong.
So I lost as our viewer, but I did ban them. So
Aww.
We almost broke double digits.
I know.
We've only done that once, to my knowledge.
There are more people who have access to healthcare. I mean, really, honestly, as much as I absolutely despise our healthcare system, there is a healthcare system. Like, I can be hauled off to the hospital in case of an emergency. It'll cost me every dime I've got. We'll get there. But I mean, compared to 1500s where I would die of a mosquito bite, you know what I mean? Like, we're in far better shape.
I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords.
I mean, his whole thing is in the book, he's talking about it a little bit more about how people shift operations when their job dies out. I didn't actually know. I thought Luddites was a word that came from the Bible. It isn't. It's actually from an Irish Revolution, English-Irish Revolution in like the 1800s. And it was this guy named like Ludd or something like that. And the machines, the automatic threshers had come in to get cotton and make cotton, and they were out of jobs. And so they got mad and they tried to destroy the machines. And in the end, over 100 of them ended up hanging for it. And it was like, whoa.
Yeah,
well,
because I mean, the Irish knew that they weren't going to be taken care of by the system. They're just going to get axed out. It's like, no, we need to have. Income.
I'm getting booted. I think the AI's heard about me.
Oh no!
If
the Matrix has you.
It has me. I might vanish.
Yeah, Bob, I'm totally with you. You and I can commiserate on that one at some point. You are one of the people whom I think of a lot when it comes to the healthcare system.
Wage slaves.
So don't worry. I'm not saying our healthcare system is good. I'm saying it's better than 1500. But that's it. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily saying it's awesome. I lived in Japan, man, where you sneezed and they shipped you off to the hospital and it cost you nothing. and the doctors tried to figure out anything that was going on. They x-ray you, all kinds of horrible things. And then they go, yeah, you're fine. You can go back to work. But I mean,
now
what a
with
world,
extra radiation.
right? Well, I swear I got more rads of radiation from my 3 years in Japan because they x-rayed me for everything. They like nuked my chest like every time to see if I had like water fluid in my chest every time I had a cough. It was so funny. But it cost us nothing. And that was amazing. So, I mean, I'm with you, Bob. I'm not going to even complain. I mean, I'm not, but the point really he's making is, yeah, there are still problems. Sure, there are problems all over the place. Mm-hmm. However, we get caught up in the problems. We don't get caught up. We don't look at the big picture, which is that we're 85% there.
Yeah. Or even think of like the problems are man-made, or at least many of the problems are man-made or exacerbated by man. That stands to reason that man could like change it.
Right.
As opposed to just going, woe
is
us, we can do nothing.
We have to stop.
We must
blaming
let the rich people
start
keep making all the money,
holding
off of
people
us.
responsible, but not blaming. Blame and responsibility are not the same.
Troy is back. The Matrix released him.
That's right.
Have they?
I found my way out.
Oh, Ralph, they did all kinds of things. They ultrasounded me too. They were just into stuff. I was in a little teeny town that was out in the middle of nowhere, about the size of Longmont here in Colorado, a little town. And it was about like Longmont, where it was out of the main town quite a ways. And even that hospital had an fMRI. And so they threatened to throw me in the fMRI a couple of times. Because they were like, we could just like stick you in the fMRI if you want. We can image your heart and we can image your lungs. I'm like, it's okay. Oh my God, people.
Completely different story than being charged $300 to make you babysit your own kid.
Right? That was totally a thing. That was so aggravating.
Yeah. Well, the most recent last week with John Oliver.
We have to discuss this in the scheme of we're probably reaching at least one person who isn't Coloradan.
Okay. As the latest last week with John Oliver actually goes into talking about AI, with the AI writing programs and art programs, and about what's the good, what's the bad, kind of thing. And if you like his humor, definitely worth watching.
Cool,
right?
Anyway, AI is its own like 5-episode topic.
Yeah, sorry. And I ranted. I'm ranting a lot, but I'm trying really. I'm in the middle of like a.
It's out of character.
I'm in the middle of a internal journey, where I'm trying to figure out, like,
a mid journey.
What am I thinking? Where am I going on these things?
That was a AI program joke there.
A mid journey. I'm in the middle of my journey.
Yep.
And cancel culture has taken.
I can hear your computer.
I'm going to back up.
Okay, I don't know what you're doing.
I'm trying to load up for the next show, and already Pepper and Can are in the room, and so they're already talking. So I can't join the stream until we're clear. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just they're already doing something else, and I'll let them start the show, and then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I loved when Deep Blue was winning chess and shit like that in the 90s or late 90s, early aughts. What is it? I don't remember. I should Google it. Anyway, like I loved, like some commentator was saying, it's like, I don't really care that a computer can beat someone at chess because it can game out, a billion moves ahead of them. I'm going to be more worried when they go, hey, supercomputer AI, beat this person at chess. And the AI goes, nah, I don't want it today.
Yeah. So I was trying to look up the date because I couldn't remember when this happened. I know it was like sort of recently, and no date. But where this kid, this like 7-year-old or 8-year-old, I don't know how old he was playing in Russia, was playing a chess robot, and it broke his finger because he like was reaching for a piece, I guess, at one point, and the robot was reaching for a piece at the same time and grabbed his finger and broke it. It's like, yep, AI's computers will threaten you and break your fingers, apparently.
Well, it is. I think it was Russia, so that
that explains. In Soviet Russia, chess robots can kill you.
In Soviet Russia, robots break you.
Yeah, it's a tournament at Moscow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's
fun.
I didn't mean to go on this like hour long. I didn't mean to go on this hour long rant. So I'm going to try to solve this by doing my own YouTube channel so that this is all said and I can get it out of my system before I get onto Geek Tank.
That's not going to change anything.
You can.
It'll make you. You'll be a little bit more eloquent and on point because you would have rehearsed it.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a little bit more eloquent and on point, then this only takes 5 minutes of our time instead of an entire hour. Mm-hmm. So that's a thing. So anyway, it is now 10:01, and I'm sure that already.
Do you know where your children are?
Right. I'm sure that my other channel is already spun up. So
yeah,
I'm going to go on ahead and get into that. And then I will talk to you guys, though, at some other point.
I've got the closing ready here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. Even the Soviet robots.
Those Bulgarian
robots.
Bulgarian robot in Soviet. Okay.
I wonder if it popped up because I said vodka.
There you go.
I don't know. No, who knows? All right. In any case, thank you, everybody, for watching.
And that's all the time we've got for today. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.